Alrighty, Spite, everyone knows why they're watching this video. Let's see which one's faster. Alright, on the third beep, you ready?
Yep.
No! That top end horsepower.
Yep.
Hey, for a 560-pound bike, that's not too bad.
That thing really boogies, man. It's genuinely impressive how fast that thing is.
Yeah, from a roll-on against an MT-09, that's pretty good.
You want to do it in fourth gear where you might have a little bit more grunt?
Man, that MT-09's got crazy grunt, but we can give it a shot. You ready?
Alright, same here. Now I'm walking away on you.
That was pretty neck and neck, though.
That was really neck and neck.
That was awesome. I'd love to see it from a line, though. I think this bike would smoke that bike off the dig.
Oh, absolutely. It's so much easier to launch that thing thanks to its weight and wheelbase.
Yeah, maybe we'll get lucky and get a red light and give it a shot.
Launching this thing takes some nads, that's for sure.
All right.
I'm going to have a hard time keeping the front end down.
On the count of three, you ready?
Yep.
1, 2, 3.
Yup.
See that sick burnout, bro?
Yeah, that was awesome.
This bike's ridiculous. Yeah, with some serious set of rubber on here, you could definitely do some damage with this bike, but it's like the old saying goes, if you're spinning, you're not winning, so.
Yep.
So we're not going to get too in the weeds with specifications here today, but I did want to let you know that this Scout and this Yamaha MT-09 are giveaway motorcycles we have here on Yami Noob. If you hit the link down below to yaminoob.co, you can find out how to get entered to win by signing up on our website and joining our awesome Discord community. We just launched a new member meetup feature, so if you want to find someone to ride with, it's a great way to do that too. If that doesn't sound appealing, you can also get a piece of merch and get entered to win that way too. Spite, would you please walk us through the Indian?
Absolutely, let's do it. So the Scout is powered by an 1133cc 4-valve liquid-cooled engine, pretty good for an American motorcycle. It's putting down 100 horsepower and 72 foot-pounds of torque. It does weigh in at a very American 561 pounds, wet and ready to ride, and it does cost you $11,500 brand new at a showroom. So what makes this cruiser so different from a sport bike? Well, the first thing you might notice is that it's got foot forward riding pegs. This means that your feet are out in front of you on this bike. And the seat height is very low, meaning just about anybody could flat foot this motorcycle. All of this informs the geometry and lets you know that this really isn't a bike for pushing. It's meant to be relaxed, taken easy, ridden all day, and more or less a straight line, not really hitting any curves with this thing. Another thing you might notice are these big fat cruiser front tires. This one is a giant, I believe 130 section, and we got a 150 in the rear, which really isn't going to help it in a corner. So what does all that add up to? Well, it gives you a motorcycle that's really easygoing, simple to ride, you can spend all day in the saddle, and you have gobs of low-end grunt. But even with all that low-end grunt, you're not going to rip the front wheel off, even if you go ham on the throttle, because of the super long wheelbase. Again, very easy to ride.
So according to Spite, no matter how hard you romp on the throttle, you can't get the front wheel to lift on that Scout. That's not really an issue on this MT-09. With its 847cc triple making 115 horsepower and 65 foot-pounds of torque, this thing wheelies basically on command, which is a ton of fun. This thing also weighs in at a featherweight 414 pounds ready to ride, and it costs $9,000 on the showroom floor. Bang for buck, this is pretty hard to beat. So when you look at a sport bike versus a cruiser, this thing features a standard setup. It's got a 120/17 at the front and a 180/17 at the rear. Any tire you want, this thing will fit it. When it comes to the ergonomics package, this bike is pretty much the standard sport bike style. You got your feet right underneath you and a nice commanding stance with a bit of a motard twist on this bike. Now, the geometry on this bike is really different than the Scout as well. It's got a shorter wheelbase and a much more aggressive rake, which gives you a great turn-in when you're riding this thing. And the lightweight means that it's really easy to maneuver around your shop or your garage. So all that to say, the MT-09 is a true blue wheelie machine. It handles really, really well compared to the Scout, and as the MT moniker says, it's the master of torque. Torque is not just for cruisers anymore. But if you're looking for a laid-back experience, this bike is a little bit hair on fire to ride on the day in and day out. Now, we all know it takes balls to ride a motorcycle, and to the 2.3% of my audience that doesn't have balls, it takes ovaries to ride a motorcycle. Manscaped has you covered with their performance package. Now, you all know about the Lawnmower 3.0, gets you aerodynamic, fresh, looking good, but they got a bunch of other stuff too. You get yourself the Shears 2.0, the Weed Whacker, get your whole situation trimmed up and looking fresh. Now look, I'm not gonna sit here and tell you the performance package is gonna make you faster at the track, but I'm also not gonna tell you it won't make you faster at the track. For a limited time, hit the link down below, use the code YAMMY, and get yourself 20% off your entire order. Manscaped has been a proud partner of our channel for over 2 years now, and we love helping them, and they love supporting us. Hit the link down below, use the code YAMMY, and now let's keep on moving with these motorcycles.
So some of you may be surprised to learn, but I really dig the Scout. This is a really fun motorcycle, and what makes it fun is what kind of makes it bad too, in my opinion. With this 130 section at the front, this 150 at the rear, this kind of wonky suspension, but this ridiculously overpowered engine. This thing's a lot of fun. It's kind of a hooligan in disguise. This is definitely not your dad's cruiser. This is a really fun motorcycle, and even though I've got this kind of wonky geometry on it, you know, this kind of raked out front end versus a sport bike, it's still a really fun motorcycle to hustle around. And I mean, you can't compare this sound with anything else, can you? It's just a fantastic engine that's inside of this cruiser here. Now, you are giving up a little bit of grip and a little bit of, you know, super performance when it comes to riding a cruiser versus a sport bike. However, sport bikes nowadays are just ridiculous for the street, in my opinion. Something like this Scout is actually really appropriate for the street in that it's torquey, it's fun, and you can't really outride it on the streets. This is a motorcycle that's built for fun. This thing is really sweet to ride, and it, despite its flaws, can still be quite an enticing experience for the street motorcyclist. And again, listen to this thing.
So hopping on the MT-09 here, one of the first things you notice is how quickly it darts from side to side. Now that's a combination of the suspension being a lot better than the Scout, and B, the fact that the handlebars are positioned in this sort of attack stance, kind of supermoto style almost. Gives you this really nice, you know, ability to get side to side on the tire and really kind of push your way through the turns on this bike. Another thing that you really notice is not only does this bike have a ridiculous amount of torque, it also has a really big top-end punch, having that 115 wheel horsepower. I mean, that's a lot of power. Not only is it more than enough for the street, it's almost too much. This bike can be a little much to ride from time to time. You get it into a corner, and the herky-jerky nature of the throttle can be a little bit upsetting. But the nice thing is, when you're just cruising, the bike's happy to do that. And because you're not in a crazy super sport tuck, you're actually really just comfortable to sit like this all day long. So now that we've had both of these bikes out on the road, why don't we get Yam and I together and wrap this thing up?
Alrighty, Spikes, after our scientific test today, I think we can safely say that motorcycles are fun.
Yes, absolutely. I think that's the top line of pretty much all of the videos.
Yeah, it does seem like a common thread here is that motorcycles tend to be quite fun, but I do see people getting into it in a comment section about cruisers or sport bikes or dirt bikes or this and that, but really it's just like, they're all good in their own ways, you know? Like this thing makes an awesome sound, classic looks, low seat height, easy to ride. This thing's just a hair on fire missile wheelie monster, you know? It just depends on your flavor of motorcycling.
I think the one thing that I take away from this is you don't sacrifice much by changing styles, right? Yeah. There are some differences here and there, like this obviously wants to just kind of chill and mosey down the highway until you crack it open, and then it's like, we're going real fast down the highway. And this just wants to do wheelies. I don't want to say it wants to do a corner because it does it a little funny. Yeah. But you know, you're not having to give up something by choosing a cruiser over a sport bike.
I agree. Both of them, you know, like when you're looking at something for just the street, when you're confining your choice of motorcycle to just something like that, you know, and you're not looking at a performance-oriented machine, both of these will trundle down the road just fine, get you to your commute just fine, and it just matters on which one you like most and which one you think would look good in your garage. It's really the end line through it there. I think it's gonna wrap us up for today. Remember, these two motorcycles being given away on yamanoob.co. You can also check out yamanoobmerch.com. And if it wasn't obvious, motorcycles are fun. Go ride one if you haven't yet. Hey there, partner, you done made it to the end of this here Yamanoob video, but I tell you what, there's another Yamanoob video right over here waiting for you. Now, I know I'm real gracious like that, and I just do nice things for you, so why don't you take a look at this video, and you let me know what you think.